supposed to take your glasses off before you spray.
Right, yeah.
All right, everybody, welcome to the show. I've got to guess it's a weird show because it's on a day that we don't usually record. But when this man said that he could make it to my house, I just said yes, and I made it work. So here we are. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Steve-O is on the show. And, of course, Tully is dead and was fired, and so was Kevin. Kevin might make it from the dead, but, yeah, Tully died. So there you go. That's what happened to the rest of the show. So it's just us. Wait. That's fast as fuck, boy.
Fuck yeah!
I just said that you almost died because I know Tully died, but you didn't. I said you might, and then he did. Kevin Kraft to the studio.
This close.
Well done. Well done.
So
Yeah.
podcasting is still reasonably new for you?
Yeah. Is it a year?
Just about. We started in December.
Okay.
Yeah, just about a year. So
And you're no longer with SiriusXM.
at all.
And how long's that been?
A year.
Wow.
Yeah. I think it was. How long did I take to make a studio? It was a week, right?
Oh, as in like when construction started and
Yeah.
this no longer was a
I
basement?
built this and made it a studio within a week, I think.
yeah.
Good.
Yeah. And because I had a lot of advice. I had a lot of people in the podcasting world. Brendan Schaub told me to come over to his house and calm me down because at first I shit a brick. I thought it was over. I was like,
Right.
what am I going to do? I'm done. And he was like one of the first people that I trusted because he's successful in the podcasting game. And he
Right.
goes, dude, relax. Like you're going to, there's a transition here. You got to make a pivot, but you're going to be fine. He was like, in 3 years from now, you're going to be sitting there laughing. I was like, oh man, I was talking about moving out of my house and he's like, dude, calm down. Like it's not all over. So he was like a really good person
That's great.
for that first couple of days. And then Bert Kreischer said, get back on. Like whatever you
Sure.
got to do, get back on now. So
I mean, it was evident to me the whole time that you were at SiriusXM that your fans, your audience was very loyal to you.
yep.
Because I would hear about it when I was on the show. And, I would interact with a lot of people doing meet and greets on my tour. And it was just really frequent that I would hear of it. So I just got the impression that your fans are very loyal. And so it makes sense that, you go from SiriusXM to podcasting, you're going to bring your audience with you.
Yep.
I could actually imagine that you would even do better from a financial perspective because whatever SiriusXM was willing to pay you, they're selling their own ads. They give you what they're willing to part with. But now you're in the position where you are selling the ads. And I can imagine that before long, you're going to be making more money than you were at Sirius.
I hope so. I hope you're right. I think that you're right on the potential of it all. I think it's just
Sure.
a matter of, a little bit of luck, but of, hard work and really trying to do the best you can. And I think we're definitely about that. So,
Right.
and it already has done really good. Like considering what I thought, I'm doing really good. Is it what Sirius is? Not, but I know it's getting better. The shows are getting a bit bigger every couple of
Good.
months. So I think it's just a matter of being in there for a little bit longer. I mean,
Right.
how long did it take before did yours just blow up immediately and stayed at a certain level, or have you climbed?
I don't know that I could say that it, went up or down because it just goes up and down like every week. I feel like because my podcast is so guest driven
Yeah.
that it just depends entirely on the guest.
Oh, wow. And does it matter when the guest says, is it a great interview? Like he breaks something, or is it more about that
It's
person's
just
name is
about the name recognition, and I'm really at the mercy of that, which is a little bit frustrating because I have no control over whether an episode's going to perform.
Does that sometime?
Is it incredibly anxiety inducing? Yes.
Yeah, because I feel like the only way I get involved in that was I can relate because SiriusXM, I didn't pick people. They gave us people, and there was times where they gave us famous people that I didn't like, and not much, but a couple of times I was like, I'll pass on that. Like, I don't know what I'm going to tell that person that I've always thought he sucked. Like, that's a shit interview.
Right.
And then I've had bosses say, oh, no, you'll be talking to him. Like, that's going to help open doors for all these other things. And I'm like, oh, shit, all right. And then it ends up turning into, like, a fight. Like, Dice Clay flipped out.
I remember.
I told him I didn't want him on there. Like, I don't know what to do.
Was the Dice Clay episode on your show, or was that on the Stern show?
No, that was mine.
Okay.
Yeah, I did that all by
And
myself.
I recall that vaguely. It was something to do with his son was in there.
Yeah, well, okay, so, man, I want to interview you, but...
Right.
They at first it was the argument was like, you got to let them in and do this thing, and when their kid's band wants to play, and I'm like, dude,
I remember.
I'm not doing that. And he's like, well, they want to do an interview with the band, and I said, well, I'm not doing that. And he's like, well, can they come in with him? And I said, okay, yeah, I can tell that it's like, yes, I'll do that.
Right.
So then when they come in halfway through the interview, he decides, he's like, so you're just going to interview my boss now? And I was like, what? Nah, you're like, we're just going to keep talking. He's like, oh, okay, well, you're going to play their song at least. And I'm like, oh, no, because that was back then.
Right.
It was even more, my crowd wanted me to be me at all times. And the song was really bad. So I could just feel it when it started playing. I was like, everybody listening is like, you better fucking say it, Ellis. You better fucking say it. And I'm like,
you sugarcoated it pretty well.
Right. I said, hey, you guys are not signed, right? And they said no. And I was like, yeah, because you're not ready, clearly. But and he just went off straight away. I know it's your kids. Like, I get it if you fucking insulted my kids, but I also wouldn't bring my kids' shitty band onto a radio show. I'd have a little bit more of an ear for it before I told everybody to check them out. But it was one of those things where I don't like it. People like that, but I didn't like it. I could not do that.
I relate to that.
You've done that?
Well, no, I don't like confrontation. I don't like, just kind of overly negative shit.
Yeah.
I look at this whole situation with Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
And I just wouldn't. I would hate to be in that kind of a situation where just people are so mad at you. I was watching it and I was entertained by it. This most recent special that he had, and I just felt the whole time thinking like, oh man, so now he just has to like go everywhere with security and like be worried about like.
Wait, he does?
I mean, I don't know. You would imagine,
really?
Right? I mean,
you think that he has to walk around like there's death threats from that?
I mean, I don't know. Like,
I think it's more people that are on the left and the right are extra angry about another thing that happened in the news. I don't think it's even Dave Chappelle. It's just that's just like everyone loves to do. It's trans. Well, I hate trans because the earth is flat. And then, then you get the other people that get triggered by that. So they're like, fuck you, fucking everybody, like, because they go too far. Like, we should start, giving cakes. I don't know. Like, they're out of control on both sides. They're both embarrassing.
Right.
But it doesn't matter. Like, I didn't think it was that funny, but he's a genius regardless. And I got a lot of friends and I got a lot of friends that would prefer to be introduced with their pronouns and whatnot. And I'm still learning and I make mistakes, but I do it because they're my friends, and I can tell if I don't, they really hurt by it, and it doesn't bother me, so I do it. And I know when I see that stuff, I go, oh, that's gonna bum out my friend so much. I know it. I'm not as triggered as she is, or he is, depending on who it is. But I just feel like everyone makes it too much. Like if he just had his special and no one went, did you hear? Did you hear? Did you hear? We could just move on. But it's like now everyone has to have an opinion about Dave Chappelle's fucking special. Like, none of us, what are you, a comedian? You don't fucking know. Like,
yeah.
And if you're not trans or you're not, I don't feel it, it's just fake anger too.
Right.
I'm pissed. And then you go and get a fucking McDonald's burger and forget about it. Like, everyone's the same.
Dude, I had this crazy experience early when I started doing comedy. Like, I was like barely 1 year into it. And I got an offer to be on the Charlie Sheen roast.
Oh shit! Oh, okay. I think I saw it.
Right,
and that's a year in.
I was a year into doing stand up, and they're just like, I guess it makes sense, they'll enlist people to be on roasts who aren't even comedians at all, but they just sort of.
Oh yeah.
I was
Okay.
somehow, and I
Did
was.
you get jokes written for you?
I definitely welcomed people to suggest jokes for me, and
The pros, right? Those heavy hitters are there as well. Correct.
right there's so one guy wrote this joke for me, and I was so like just horrified by it. I was like, "There's no way I'm going to tell that joke." But then
Because it was so offensive.
it was pretty gnarly. So I saw Jeff Ross, who's of course
Yeah.
the roast master, and I said, "Oh man, this guy, Gino Bisconti, he wrote this joke. I would never use it, but go for it, for yourself." And the joke was to look at the dais, and the dais is the panel of roasters. All the people on the panel. He says, you look at the panel of roasters, you say, who are these people? The last time this many nobodies got roasted, at least Great White was playing.
Oh, yeah. That's not really your pocket of
It's
humor.
not. It's not. Like, it's a terrible and super mean joke. And I said it to Jeff Ross. He goes, oh my God, dude, that's amazing. You've got to do it. You've got to do it.
Oh, okay. He did that
Right.
to you.
Right. And so we were going around the local clubs kind of preparing for, working out the material before the actual taping of the roast.
Wait,
And-
what? You're doing is it a fake roast?
No.
I don't
Like,
understand.
you're gonna do your little set of jokes
Yeah.
on the actual roast.
Yeah.
But in preparation for that, we're going around.
You were trying them in your club?
Yeah, you're practicing
your
the
set.
jokes and
Okay.
practicing the jokes in local
How often
comedy
were
clubs.
you, when you're in your first year, how often were you going up on stage?
Super often. Super
It's like
often.
4 days a week kind of shit?
I mean, I was like pretty actively like touring around, going on to comedy clubs.
Blue Chew gets you hard. Hey, I've got a penis, and I want everybody to know about it.
Oh,
Yeah. So welcome to my my commercial with Blue Chew. I wanted to tell you about my penis and how the show's sponsored by Blue Chew, and that I have done this thing where I've signed up and that I get a package in the mail, and nobody knows except my wife because she's the executive producer, so she knows what the name is, but it's nobody knows, and I've just got them, and they're just there. And as I said at the start of this commercial, I've got a penis. You put those two together,
add it up.
and what have you got? You've got a giant fat cock. Sorry. that
Bibbidi bobbidi
rhymed.
boners.
Yeah. Bibbidi bobbidi bop, big fat cock.
That's right.
That's
This holiday season, you know what your special lady wants to find under the mistletoe?
bibbidi bibbidi bop,
Boing.
his fat cock.
Your big fat boner. And here's a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code Ellis at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code Ellis to receive your first month free. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast.
Hey man, Keeps is cool. It's late for me and it's over. And I'm in the middle of I've got this new thing where I don't shave my head. I just use the clipper thing. And so I've got bum fluff on my head. So it's super apparent that I'm bald. I know it way more lately than I usually do. And I got to tell you, it's not cool.
You're not alone, Jason. 2 out of 3 men will experience some form of hair loss, not by the time they're 65, by the time they're 35. Cut down in their prime. And the worst part of all, completely unnecessary. Keeps can help you keep the hair you've got.
I'm not sure I want what I've got.
No, I don't think you should. But
Yeah.
boy, if only Keeps had come in your life 20 years ago, we'd be talking to a
Yeah.
totally different and presumably far hairier man.
It should be huge too. People love hair.
If
They
you,
respect a man with hair.
they do. And
Do you want to be respected, people, or do you want to be disrespected with your shiny head?
that's right. The choice
Because
is
I'm
yours.
sick of it, and there's nothing I can do about it except stick one on.
If you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/Ellis to receive your first month of treatment for free. That's keeps.com/Ellis to get your first month free. keeps.com/Ellis.
Like outside the
How
state.
did you
like
get
all
yourself
over.
booked without having comedy
Well, you
like
know,
a set and whatnot?
I was super regular in the comedy clubs in LA. You know, like I kind of dove into it. Like
You were like, hey, I'm trying to get a go, and they were like, yeah, we'll
correct.
give you a go because you're Steve-O.
Pretty much,
Right.
yeah. I dove into it in earnest before the third Jackass movie came out,
Okay.
which was in 2010. And then on the morning of I was on Howard Stern promoting the third Jackass movie. And I said to him just on the air, I said, "Oh, dude, Howard, man, like I've been doing stand up like all the time, man. And I want to I want to like get a set tonight in New York."
Yeah.
I ended up doing a set in New York that night at the Comedy Cellar. But in the following days, I had a call from my entertainment lawyer. He said, "Hey, I don't quite understand it, but I'm getting calls from comedy clubs like all over the country asking
Wow.
to get you to come in." And so it was a bit of an exercise in jumping the line. You know, we had
Yeah.
this big movie I was expressing that I wanted to do stand up.
I can relate to this so much, dude. Like what you're
Right.
I feel like I just did something that was so nerve-wracking to me that I've told these guys. I've had fights with people. I fought Shane Carwin. I was more nervous before I went out on that stage.
Sure.
And it was 500 people, but because it was a big venue I was introducing Ryan Sickler, I'm usually at the Dime Bar in front of 3 people.
Right.
So now that one seemed, I've done fights and skateboard demos in front of thousands, but it fucking scared the shit out of me,
Sure.
Steve-O.
Was that the same thing you felt?
Yeah, did you
you've done
feel
some
that?
crazy shit.
Yeah, absolutely. And
You did?
Yeah, and I remember I saw this on your Instagram very recently. You did stand up for the first time, and it was at the Brea.
Yeah, that's it.
Improv.
That's the one.
The Brea Improv's a big club. It's 500.
Even when I pulled up, I was like, look, oh my God, this is way too serious for me to be in there. These
Right.
are like, it's a giant establishment.
Right, and I feel like you and I had spoken about, you were kind of toying with the idea for years before that.
I did, but I went out there and without a plan, and I refused to do it any other way. And then when I started watching everybody, I realized that you don't do it
You
like
don't
that.
want to do that.
So I bowed out.
Right.
But
You don't want to do that.
this year, I've really been going. I go every week, and I've really been trying. And I've got my little set, and I try to make it a little. I now understand it, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Right.
And now that I've got my little set, I'm still like, it's still super fresh in my head. I haven't told it that many times. And
Right.
like you with being, I can't believe, like televised roast, and you've got 1 year. Like if someone was
Right.
like, hey, Jason, do you want to be in a roast with roast fucking Travis Pastrana or something? I know I'd be shitting myself.
Right.
Because I'm not ready enough. Like I don't.
Right.
It's-
I agree.
And you're in
fully.
there with the big dogs straight away.
Right. And Jeff Ross told me, dude, you got this. So we go to the comedy clubs, and when I told this joke, the fucking
Oh, you were doing it.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I just figured, well, there's no stakes. We're just practicing our jokes and comedy clubs. It's not on cameras or, so I'll just see what it's like. And it was out of everything, that was the joke that got the big reaction. I was well,
shit.
maybe, I can't.
Steve-O the racist. Everybody loves him.
Well, it wasn't a question of racist. What it was Great White was this band that performed in somewhere in Rhode Island. They had all of their pyrotechnics from like when they were like a big arena act, but now they were kind of in more of like a small nightclub setting.
Oh,
and
what?
the nightclub like burned down.
I heard about that.
So all these people were trapped in the nightclub. Like there was
wow.
I think a lot of people died. And
I
that's
totally know the roof that was made of some weird shit, so the roof caught on fire.
Right.
Yeah.
And people were trapped, and there was just an awful tragedy.
Yeah, and you made
so that was what the joke was. That's what the joke was like, who are these nobodies? Last time this many nobodies were roasted, Great White was playing.
Right, that's funny, but it's harsh as fuck.
It's
but in a club, it's very witty. Like it's
and at a roast, I mean, that's the place for it. The more tasteless, the better.
But here's what happened. The joke worked, like it got a great response in the comedy club.
Yeah.
So I said, oh, I was like, like it's not my vibe, but fuck, I can't argue with the response I got.
Yeah.
So I did it at the roast, at the actual taping for Comedy Central.
And it was good,
and now, what the taping for the actual taping for Comedy Central happened on a Saturday night, and then the show will be edited over the next couple of weeks. It'll come out a couple of weeks later.
Okay.
I told the joke at the roast, and the next morning, like my whole like social media feed was just, I hope you burn in hell, this whole thing.
Shit.
And I couldn't figure it out because it had
do well when you said it?
I think it did. I think it did. But and the show hadn't even aired yet. So I wasn't like clear like how this and what it was that there was a blogger, and I believe the blogger was from Entertainment Weekly. Entertainment Weekly put up like a blog on there and just like, sort of notes about the roast, and they like included that, and Steve-O performed, and this was one, they wrote it in its blog as one of the jokes that I told. And this blog was like just it felt like every single person in Rhode Island like was made aware of that from this blog. And there was just this hatred coming towards me that
Is this like something you'd haven't experienced before? Like this is the highest level of hate you've ever.
Yeah, it was. It was. It was. And I.
Do you think your career was in trouble?
I don't know about that. I don't know that I was ever even concerned as much about that. I was just so uncomfortable with having that level of hatred directed towards me, and I immediately like reached out to the producers of the roast itself, because it had only just been taped the night before.
Right.
And I said, please, I'm begging you, please don't edit that joke out. Don't include it. And they did edit that joke out.
Okay.
It was just that I just will always remember that, because it's not like my spirit, it's not my spirit. And that's why when I look at the Dave Chappelle thing, like I had that own personal experience of my own to just know like, wow, I don't like that. And just to imagine whether or not Dave Chappelle has to go around with security is really besides the point. It's just to know that many people are upset with you is something that I never want to be in that position again. And I have a show coming up in Rhode Island in a matter of like a week or two, and like going there.
Is it like, about how gay people are stupid or something?
No. I have like just my tour, my tour is bringing me to Providence, Rhode Island to perform. And I believe that,
Wait, there's still band Steve-O going on?
No. I don't know. I have no idea. But I can't help it. I think it's the first time I will have performed there since that happened.
Okay.
So, I don't even know.
You're a little bit.
Part of me feels a little bit like nervous, like exposed.
Hopefully somebody doesn't go there with it. I mean, you can explain yourself if somebody does bring it up, because it does kind of justify it. To me, it does anyway. It's like somebody good. Like I know that I've had a couple of people tell me to do this instead of this, and I just immediately agreed to it and did it because they're fucking famous comedians. Who do you think knows more, me or him? Like I was like, really? I will do that. And then now I'm stuck with that because I believe he knows better than me.
Right.
Like, take a pointer from a pro. It's not a bad idea. I want to talk to you about the stunt that you did with Danny and Bioaccelerator, but first the car running through the box?
It was a wooden outhouse. It was intended to be an outhouse.
And you broke both your ankles?
I properly, I would say, shattered my right ankle.
And we skated today.
And I had a very minor fracture on my left heel. So I went ahead and called that 2 broken feet.
A fractured heel sounds fucking painful.
Yeah, it was.
Sounds like one it doesn't heal for a long time.
The whole situation was less than desirable.
You didn't think for any second the whole time you were arranging the stunt that was going down that there was any way that you could possibly like get really hurt. I mean, unless the car hit you, you
Right.
probably thought, how bad could it be? I'm just dropping off a ledge, really.
Right. Yeah. And when, it's the fact of being stationary, which is really
Yeah.
a problem. If you're gonna land on an incline, or if you have some momentum.
If
to, like-
everybody knows, if you're going to drop from somewhere high, the faster you go, the better it is.
Right.
I don't know what I'm not a scientist, but that's just the
Right.
way it goes. If you do it really slow, you don't make it.
Right, and the thing is too, so it was just dumb to begin with, because I was on stationary on this, mock outhouse, which I forget about. I think it was a full 8 feet tall. I
Right. So it's an 8-foot bomb drop to no moving.
an
on the
8-foot bomb
concrete.
drop to no moving at all. Just
Have you ever
stationary.
done that? I know you scared a lot, but when was the last time you dropped fucking 8 feet to the ground?
Right, man.
You were just like, for this, I'm going for
It
it.
was a pretty hopeless situation.
Did you think you were going to make it?
I had 4 of these boxes built.
Yeah.
4 of
So you
these
had
8
4 shots.
It's 4 shots.
Right.
The first one, I kind of landed and popped.
No pain on the first one, though.
And I did it different ways too. There was I set up I set it up on the like a tail drop.
Yeah.
So I'm standing as if I'm going to drop in on it. And then
So you try to ollie off before it hits.
I don't know how much I really ollied, but the board just fell away from me.
Okay.
So then I thought, okay, I'm gonna have to boneless it, And
Okay.
so I did bonelesses in the next ones, and I kind of made it onto the board, but toppled off, and so I had the sense that I could make it happen, and I was down to my last
Last house.
shot.
Yeah.
So I just, in my mind, I just thought, I'm absolutely gonna fucking stick this. I'm gonna commit to it no matter what happens. And in retrospect, I wasn't even on the board, but I thought it was. So I was just I planted my feet, and I was just I'm not going to just,
Right.
I put so much effort into.
I get it, man. Everyone's there, all the work, and that's the last house.
Was filming. Danny Way was driving the car.
Right.
It was pretty exciting, and was it worth it? It wasn't that rad. It was a very gnarly,
Because that's a lot of time.
11 screws in my
shit,
ankle,
dude.
a plate and 11.
But
screws.
you can skate now.
Yeah, I can skate now. Danny brought me into his personal surgeon.
Yeah, he's a
Bill
Dr. Skateboarder. He's one of the highest levels out of all of us because he's had the most injuries.
Dr. Previte.
So he took you to Colombia. He got that through me, right?
I did not know that.
Yeah, so he hit me up about BioAccelerator because I was like, yeah, dude, they will get you back.
Mac Weldon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to our friends at Mac Weldon. I'm not the most stylish guy in the world. I can sometimes find it a little bit overwhelming to dress like an adult. And thank God for Mac Weldon because they make it easy. Gotten quite a few of their shirts, their pants. I'm actually wearing their undies right now.
Do people
My
find
buttocks has never felt more snug.
Do people find you more attractive, do you think?
Oh, yeah.
Has anybody said you're more attractive?
Yeah. My girlfriend would, I think, prefer me to never wear anything but Mac Weldon.
Right. What about, she wants you to take it off, or does she want you to keep it on the whole time?
Leave the Mac Weldons on.
Just poke a hole.
Yeah, it's back to junior year.
Just stick it out one of the
Awesome.
leg holes. For 20% off your first Mac Weldon order, visit macweldon.com/Ellis and enter promo code, you guessed it, Ellis. That's macweldon.com/Ellis. Promo code XXX for 20% off Mac Weldon. Get it right this holiday season.
I would use Ellis.
Yeah, if XXX doesn't work, I bet you Ellis will.
Yeah. Let's go for Ellis on that.
Great holiday gifts, too. Now's the time to pull the trigger. Get them Mac Weldon orders in.
We're talking to you today about ExpressVPN because we're always talking about something. I can't prove it. I just believe it to be a fact. Your computer is spying on you. Nobody has better proof of this on a day-to-day basis than us. We talk about things here that don't ordinarily come up in my day-to-day conversations. And then I go home and everybody in this room is nodding because it happens to every single one of us. You look at your phone and you go,
That's odd. I was just talking about that for the first time ever, and now I'm seeing ads. Why is that? Doesn't matter if you're in incognito mode or if you're deleting your browsing activity. There's a really good chance your internet service provider is keeping tabs on what you're doing so they can sell your info to ad companies.
No, I don't want adult diapers. It was just a bit on the show.
It was a joke. I'm fine for at least 5 more years. So, look, maybe you go, oh, I don't know, I'm not doing anything illegal. What do I have to worry about? What do you have to worry about? It's your stuff. It's your information. It's your privacy. Exercise your rights as a human being and protect your online activity today with the VPN rated #1 by Business Insider. Visit our exclusive link, expressvpn.com/Ellis, and you can get an extra 3 months free on a 1-year package. That's expressvpn.com/Ellis, expressvpn.com/Ellis to learn more.
Bioaccelerator is the stem cell. It's operation out of Colombia. It's an American company, but they operate out of Colombia because the procedures that they're doing with stem cells are strictly not legal in America.
Yep.
And there's
from the
speculation. It's speculated that the reason why these procedures are not legal in America is because they pose a threat to the pharmaceutical and orthopedic industries.
Because if you don't get surgeries, you don't need to go through all their bullshit and pay all the extra money for surgeries and the painkillers and all that after.
If you're gonna address pain and whatever,
it could
whatever
cure
other,
it. Right?
If you're gonna,
you could really help somebody and help them not use any meds to cope day to day.
Right. I mean,
with an injection.
It's absolutely, what's the word? An inflammatory speculation. It's pretty crazy.
What did you get it on?
I got it for my neck. I've got degenerative disc disease in my neck.
Oh shit!
But
is that from an injury or?
I mean, as far as I can tell, it's from fucking headbanging. I don't know.
No way.
I don't know.
That's pretty metal then.
Maybe from my when I was a clown and I was balancing like humongous ladders on my chin. Perhaps that was. I'm not even sure, but over the years I've been to a number of chiropractors, and all of them were familiar, on some level with my body of work, and all of them, when they saw the X-rays of my spine, they were shocked at what actually good condition it's in.
Okay.
They were like, I had a chiropractor tell me, dude, you're Keith Richards. I can't understand how what you do and you're not in worse shape. They said, outside of some issues in your neck, which I think is your cervical spine. Then you've got some issues in your neck, but that's about it. And the issues in my neck have become a little bit more of a, still not debilitated. I'm not I've got range of motion. I'm not in pain. Yeah. So for me to go to BioAccelerator and get the stem cell treatment for it was largely preemptive. It was to try to prevent me from getting to a point where I'm in pain or not able to move. Right. But the motherfucker about it is that everybody wants to know, does it work? Does it work? And I don't have a good fucking answer because
you weren't sore in the first place.
Right. It's not like I had pain that I could say went away. Yeah. It's not like I was, had range of motion that came back. It's preemptive.
Yeah.
I feel like I was absolutely a fucking waste of time for this company BioAccelerator because I can't give them I can't say anything bad happened. But
you made a good video of you trying to fight the what is it?
The general anesthesia.
Yeah, that was definitely. I mean, dude, the amount of people that they ask and are excited about coming there for the free treatment. What you did is bringing a lot of people, and to me, it's yes, I'm getting it for free. I paid for my flight or whatever, but if you're hurt and you're as old as me and you're because I got there's pain where I can't skateboard anymore.
You went there before Danny and I.
Yeah.
And you felt that you can actually vouch for for the
Fuck yeah. My shoulder got so bad that it hurt from not doing anything. And it started to worry me because I was thinking about if you're going to be in that much pain all the time, I can't do painkillers. I can't, I'm an addict. If I do that,
right. And what Dr. Drew said that in the long run, painkillers actually make pain worse.
Like because I feel like someone told me also that they don't actually numb the pain. They just make you feel different while the pain exists.
Yeah, right.
Like the pain's still there. If you have an Advil, it's supposed to like actually relieve some pain. But we've never, as skateboarders, I never did an Advil. I did as many painkillers as you had.
For me, I don't think I ever took a painkiller for pain. I just took them to get fucked up.
Right.
And since being sober, I've never taken a painkiller. It's always been.
Wait, so when you broke your ankles, no painkiller?
I mean, in the hospital, when they give me whatever they put in the IV for.
But no pills after it?
Not.
How's that first day?
It was fucked up.
Yeah.
It was fucked up, and I've had a number of different things, but yeah, I've never, since I got sober, I've not even filled out a prescription.
Wow.
Like I've never. It's been Tylenol and Advil, and in the most extreme of cases, Tylenol plus Advil.
Right. That's
really. And you did that jet fuel thing after
that was
being sober, right?
That was fucked up. Yeah.
What's jet fuel?
It was rocket engine fuel, which little model rocket engines. You've got that little like M80 kind of looking thing, like the stuff inside that I had a whole team of people like fucking hollowing these things out, and we had like basically a whole bucket of this rocket engine fuel, and I did a bunch of different stunts with it, and I kept getting away with them, and the more
now I know.
And then I fucking put like we sprinkled it all over the living room carpet, and I laid down in it, and they fucking lit it, and I ended up with pretty terrible 3rd-degree burns on 15% of my body, and that was the case where when I went to the hospital. Like I was like, hey man, like, I was asking them for some kind of numbing cream, like maybe that they could, I was like, I'm a sober guy and I don't want any painkillers, but if you've got some kind of cream that,
What'd they say about that?
As soon as they looked at me, they were like, dude, you need to go straight into fucking surgery for skin graft surgery. I had.
Wait, you did get skin grafts?
I got skin grafts on 15%.
Wait, doesn't that mean they take
body.
skin off somewhere else?
In my case, they used skin grafts from cadavers.
Yeah.
I had the flesh of 7 different dead people.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and the thing about it was they said you have to go straight into surgery because like you need for these burns. And they asked me when was the last time I had eaten, and I had just fucking eaten like right before going there.
Yeah.
So they were like, "Oh well, we can't operate on you for 8 hours."
Yep.
And when I heard that, I just like sobriety without the fucking. I was like, "Give me fucking painkillers." And my arms were so burnt, they put the IV in my neck.
Because you couldn't.
Because my arms were just fucked. Yeah, my arms were fucked from burns.
Is that worse than what's the one where you blew your fucking eardrum out with shit?
Right. Yeah.
We were just talking about that the other day before, and I said people said, can Steve-O still hear out of that ear?
Right,
and I said, I don't know.
It fixed itself on its own.
Wait, you can perforate your eardrum and then it will make another eardrum?
It won't make another eardrum.
I mean, sorry, the cover thing.
It won't make another eardrum, but it will heal. I mean, there's a hole, and then it healed. And
Did you know that was going to be that bad? Like you were going to suffer such consequences?
I had no fucking idea. And in hindsight, like that was the biggest fucking no-brainer. Like on that third Jackass movie, I got in the porta potty, and they fucking like with the bungees shot it up into the air.
Yep,
like 100 feet or whatever. Before getting into that porta potty with that dog shit, I put on fucking swimming goggles, a nose plug, earplugs.
Oh, you already knew
about
shit.
And it was all for naught because I spent the entire time flying through the air, screaming my head off with my mouth wide open. But it's just like, you see, now I've got like a t-shirt cannon filled with dog shit being fired point blank at like a level of PSI that is designed to shoot t-shirt cannons or t-shirts through.
Completely forgot you had an ear.
I just fucking I just never even thought about it.
So
I remember did I put my hand in front of my eye or something?
I don't think so, man. I think
I think I just
like
rocked
straight
it.
up profile.
I didn't put shit up. I just rocked it.
So when that went off, is that just immediate deaf? Are you deaf in that ear?
I wasn't deaf, but I just had the sense that my entire fucking ear canal was just loaded with dog shit. And I just thought,
you wash it out? Like
I did. I immediately went down to the shower and just tried to wash it out. It just felt fucked. And I was like, man, like, I'm just...
Something's up.
I really feel the need to go to get medical help for this. And I decided to go to the urgent care. And now and I think, this is speculation on my part, but I think that what perforated my eardrum was the aggressive flushing that they did at the urgent care.
No.
I think that they were trying like.
Did it hurt being like, were they hurting you?
It didn't. I wasn't in like the excruciating fucking pain until after the urgent care. It was that like I was like it was. I felt like, man, this is bad. Like it's gonna get infected or like whatever. Like I've got dog shit in my ear. It's just not good. I want to get it washed out.
Yeah.
And at the urgent care, they were flushing it like so much. And then after that, that's when it became incredibly painful. And later that day, I went to the actual hospital. And at the hospital, they didn't see anything particularly wrong. And then it just kept hurting more and more. So
the next day?
I went to an actual ear doctor, I think a few days later. And he said,
fuck off.
Yeah, he said that, you hit a little camera down there, you could see a blatant hole. Plus, like, I was like plugging my nose and like blowing, and you can tell I was like whistling through. I've learned quite a bit about ears since that. I didn't know shit about ears before that. Now I know what they think of an eardrum. I thought eardrum meant like a little like mini like wishbone thing, but an eardrum it's called a tympanic membrane, and it's just like a little flat thing, like a drum. Skin.
Was the whole point, like, did you know you were going to take that in the ear, or were you just trying to get punched in the face with shit?
I wanted it to be like a, what I bought it for was, like on the third Jackass movie, Bam was running around throwing water in people's face and punching them.
So
it was like
funny. Yeah.
with the phantom camera in super slow motion. So I thought, like, I pictured it being like, let's fill it up with dog shit, the t-shirt cannon, and we'll get in front of the phantom camera the same kind of dynamic where you've got all that super slow motion, like on the impact, but then you've left the person with shit all over their face. So it's like another level. And Jeff Tremaine and Spike Jonze were unimpressed. They thought that. It it wasn't clever. Like they just felt like they weren't into it. And so okay, all right, then I'll just do it for a YouTube video with one of these Nelk Boy guys.
Did that happen often with you? Like, did every now and then they say no and you're like, whatever, YouTube, here I go?
Oh yeah, dude. Like anything that that's always, I've always had my own side hustle, so if it's not for YouTube, or then maybe it's for my tour, like way back in the day I had my my Too Hot for TV Steve-O's Don't Try This at Home DVD series.
God.
So like invariably when my idea was shot down, I would do it on my own.
But your budget?
Well, and for me, like I'm doing it without insurance. I'm doing without just like fucking full on punk rock. And, like having done stand-up comedy for now more than 11 years, over the course of that time, my stand-up comedy has become this multimedia affair where for my new shows, I go about shooting crazy things. I make the stand-up, the stories of these, over-the-top ideas. And then after each bit in the show, I screen the footage. So for my new tour, I had a fucking medical professional put an IV in my vein with general anesthesia drugs going into my IV, and I'm riding a fucking bicycle through a field. Like, so illegal. It's so fucking illegal. It's unbelievable, the shit that I do on my own.
How do you get a doctor to do that?
Like, you go on fucking Instagram
and ask.
Yeah, dude, I don't believe I've ever failed to get something I asked for on social media.
Can anyone get in trouble for what you just said? Like, is that
if the identity of the medical professional was revealed, absolutely, they would lose everything that they worked so many years for.
Wait, so you're
so when we're doing these shoots, and there were a couple of them, the medical professional was absolutely in disguise the entire time.
A couple of them where the medical professional is disguised. So more than one time you've got a doctor.
The other one I did, I had a medical professional put a 4-inch needle into my spine and inject a drug into my spinal cavity to render me paralyzed from the waist down while I was in a full sprint. And that's another one that's for my current tour.
Did you get hurt doing that?
I did not get hurt doing that, but boy, was I in a panic because I was supposed to be paralyzed from the waist down. And once this shit fucking took me down, like I couldn't feel my whole body, And Dr. Drew, who I called, to do my due diligence, he said, be careful if you find yourself paralyzed above the waist. That's really bad because sometimes the drug could back up. And if it backs up and it goes to your upper body, then you could be dealing with having like important systems shut down.
Right.
Like your whole respiratory system could just shut down, you know? And that's the position I found myself in. And so I'm sitting there thinking like, I can't feel any indication that I'm able to breathe.
Yeah.
And I've just been sprinting with my hands cupped behind my back, trying to run as far as I could before the drug took hold. And then I collapse. I'm out of breath. I can't tell that I'm even breathing. I'm freaking out. And my buddies are fucking lighting up my legs point blank with fucking paintballs and fucking holding lighters to my feet and fucking zapping my legs with fucking stun gun.
Holy shit.
Dude, I didn't even know they were doing that shit. It was like they were doing it to a fucking steak.
Do you feel anxious before any of these stunts?
Yeah. But one benefit for these two in particular, being that like I'm old and not like finding myself feeling much braver the older I get.
Yeah.
Like throw anesthesia in the mix. Like, I'm not even gonna feel it.
Has Dr. Drew ever talked you out of a stunt?
Dr. Drew's never talked me out of a stunt. No, we have this whole routine. Like I'll call him up or I'll ask to meet up with him in person so we can like I can ask him something on camera, and it's always just like some terrible shit. He basically always says, "Oh my God, fucking like whatever. Like this is a terrible idea. Yes, something horrible can happen, and I know I'll never talk you out of doing it. I know you're gonna do it anyway.
Right.
So let me break it down for you." It's just like I don't want you to do this. I don't endorse it. I'm not I'm not encouraging it, but I know you're going to do it anyway. So let me.
He's pretty flexible.
He's so great.
Yeah, I feel like I think I called him on the show once with an idea and it was such a bad idea and he agreed to it. And then I called him back after the show and said, dude, I'm so sorry I even brought that up. He's like, I didn't think it was that bad of an idea. I would do it. I'm like, oh my God, dude. So what was it?
Wasn't it something like you two taking a bath together?
Yeah,
and farting in it.
I got a bit where we're both going to be in the bath together, and then
you and Dr. Drew.
Yeah, we were going to wash each other's backs or some shit. I don't know what it was. It was a fucking terrible idea, and I called him on the show, and he's like, "Oh yeah, no, we could talk about that. We could do that."
He's the best.
Yeah,
man.
he really is.
He's arguably the most famous doctor in the world.
Is he more famous than Dr. Phil?
but Dr. Phil doesn't actually
He's
have
not a
a
doctor.
medical practice.
Right, nice.
You got to understand that throughout all of the crazy stuff that we see doctors doing,
He's still got people he takes care
he's
of.
got a fucking office.
Yep.
And he is is he a general practitioner? He's
Yeah.
got a family practice. He's like
Yeah, I know.
the family doctor.
Yeah, no, and he keeps them. He still goes after, and all the work he does because he does all the shows, all the stuff that we do, where it's just a constant hustle.
Sure.
He's always
Constant.
doing this, going there, and yes, he will still see you if you've got a cold.
It's unbelievable. He reminds me of Tony Hawk in that like he does so much fucking shit, you know, like so prolific and everything. And both those guys too. I feel like there's no like gig that they won't do.
Right. That is, I feel like Tony's harder now because I can tell because of the podcast we do with each other that his time is way more valuable, and he's proven a point to the point where he can kind of say, "Look, I don't need to be at this and this," but he still is.
He's
like
very game to.
Yeah, like he's there's some stunt I did. I was telling Liquid Death guys today that Tony's like, yeah, I saw that video, man. If you built the ramp better, you could make that. And I was like, yeah, I know, it's a bummer. He's like, I want to build it. I want to. And I'm like, what are you, man? Like fucking Santa?
Dude, he's the best.
Yeah.
He's the fucking best.
Yeah,
and so, dude, Drew and the Birdman, dude, the two of my favorite people in the
Should get those
entire
two
world.
together. It's a funny show. Should get Drew on Hulk versus Wolf. You got a lot of people on your show, man. I've been looking at some of the guests.
It's
Holy
crazy,
shit,
huh?
dude.
Yeah, dude. Like we fucking absolutely like the level of anxiety and just like the constant trying to get people.
Is that you or is that your team as well?
I have a booker.
Okay.
I have a booker, and in some cases I'll do it. In some cases that but like we're constantly like in booking mode.
You know, I noticed on listening to your shows lately that you have this thing where if you feel like you are out of line with somebody, you want to make sure that you apologize.
If it was something that happened at a public level, that like I'm not gonna go and make something public if it didn't happen publicly in the first place. But if something was like. If I did something that I feel was wrong or was harmful, and I did so at a public level, then to me it's appropriate to address it at a public level as well.
Okay.
And I like there are like with the with like the Wu-Tang guys and with the Insane Clown Posse guy and with this guy Bradley Martin. I think that's all of the ones. Yeah.
But is that a therapy thing, or have you always been like that?
I don't think that.
I mean, obviously, when you weren't sober, you weren't like that,
right? I mean, maybe it's a recovery thing, but I think it's as much as anything else, it's just kind of a common sense deal. Like when you have a shitty feeling about something you've done, and I think the like a staggering percentage of the population just won't address it.
Right.
And
because you don't want to face it because it's awkward at first.
Right. But I just think that it's so much better to do that. Like I've and I think I owe like my tenure in recovery to kind of training me to do that, and I'm grateful for the practice, and I've just kind of adopted it as a way of life.
I did that to Uriah Faber at a UFC party where I'm friends with Dominic Cruz and I have been for some time, and I've talked shit on Uriah ever since the second fight where they did the interview and Uriah was like, "No, man, I won." And I'm like, how can you be like, just accept it. Like maybe you can win the next one, but you lost that one for sure. So I always had a beef with him for that.
Was it a decision, split decision kind of thing?
It was a decision. It wasn't a split.
Oh, so it was a unanimous decision.
Yeah. And twice he won. And, Dom's a really good shit talker and they would go back and forth, but I was definitely on Dom's side. Got a show where I talk about the UFC all the time. I talked a lot of shit on Uriah Faber. So I'm at this bar and everyone, I think I was with Kenda Perez. Katie said I could take her to this UFC thing. So it's all UFC fighters and then it's Uriah, like Jason Uriah. And I go, hey, man, I got to say, man, I talked a lot of shit on you. Like,
was he aware of that?
no. And his face was like,
Oh no.
why are you doing this? And I'm like, why am I doing this? And then I like
Right.
trying to, but I'm like, but there's a point. Like, I want to get to the point of, I think you're cool and I want to apologize because now I see that it was just like my own little thing. But I want you to know if you ever ask anybody about me, they might tell you,
Right.
he said that you suck.
I had that very similar experience with Leon Edwards.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wait. So, because I know you're a UFC guy now,
right.
you're hanging with Dana White and all that stuff, but you talked bad about Leon Edwards?
I was critical of, in Leon Edwards' fight with Bilal Muhammad, which was stopped due to an egregious eye poke.
Yeah.
Leon Edwards was handily winning that fight. It wasn't like, the eye poke was distinctly egregious. And I was critical of Leon Edwards
on social media.
In the aftermath of it, saying no way, like I'm moving on. I deserve a title shot. Like I'm not gonna run it back with Bilal Muhammad.
Yeah,
and I was outspoken in a number of interviews, just think, I think that.
What interviews are we talking about?
I mean, I don't know. There was like some
MMA stuff, right?
Yeah, I remember like Ariel Hawani. I want to say like maybe like
you're telling Ariel Hawani that you didn't appreciate.
I'm telling Ariel Hawani that I thought that the right thing to do would be to acknowledge the egregious eye poke and run it back. Give him, say, hey, you know what, that was wrong, and I'm gonna give it. But he just felt like it felt to me that he just rushed to overlook Bilal Muhammad, and he just wanted to move forward and leave him in the past.
Yeah, I understand both. Like I feel sorry for Muhammad, but I also feel like he's been trying to get there for a while, and he's like, man, I shouldn't even be fighting this guy, and he's right. You shouldn't be. You should be. Probably having a title fight.
And then now...
but he came at you.
He didn't come at me. I did what you did with Uriah Faber. Oh. He was entirely unaware that I even had the opinion. And I'm like, hey, dude.
No.
I'm like, hey, dude, I feel like I got to tell you that I was critical of your not being willing to,
Yeah, just say that you said that it was...
yeah, I just wanted, but like, hey, dude, like, I had a really good experience meeting you. And like, I just, like... I got to tell on myself that, I was critical of your unwillingness to run it back with Bilal. And, dude, fuck it, And I even went on to say, too, that Bilal Muhammad's subsequent fight against Damian Maia was, like, enough to me. Just like, okay, I felt that was a terribly fucking boring fight.
Yeah.
Damian Maia, is sort of very advanced in his career. For Bilal Muhammad to, have that performance against Damian Maia, it just removed him from any thought, for me, that he's a contender and deserves to be fighting Leon Edwards. So it kind of canceled out what I was critical of in the first place. I was like, hey, I take it back. I don't feel that way anymore after I saw Bilal and Damian Maia.
I didn't realize that you were having, full-on opinions to Ariel Hawani about MMA... And then being at the UFC and then bumping into these guys because I got a starter kit. I'm not as famous as you. Hey, you gotta shut the dogs up. That's crazy. Doing a fucking show. Man. Sorry. Anyway, yeah, I know because they're intimidating people.
Right.
And I was on Sirius, no one's listening to me. Like, if Ariel Hawani asked me a question about a fighter and I was like, yeah, that guy's a turd. And then I'm at the fights on Saturday and he's over there, I'd be like, God damn, I hate this. Like, I'm terrified. Like, it's not that I'm going to get beat up. I'm like you, I hate confrontation, man. Right. I'm like, I know there's no chance he's going to punch me. It's just going to be like, oh, what's up, fuckhead? And I'll be like, yeah, right. I am a fuckhead. That is fair.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what else I would say. Like, I don't want to have an argument. I look up to all of you in one kind of way, so I would feel terrible. Has that happened?
Has it?
Because you have got fucking MMA opinions.
I do.
I did not know that.
Yeah, dude.
Wait, you got one with Connor.
Well, it was while I was at BioAccelerator in Columbia.
Yeah.
Like Dana White's social media guy reached out and asked me to make my little prediction for the trilogy fight between Poirier and McGregor.
Yes.
And of course, yeah, for sure. And I made my little video. I said that I believe Dustin Poirier is a better guy, a better person, a better fighter, and that he's going to run through Conor like very easily. Yeah, and you know, whatever. Like, I believe that's all true. And the UFC posted my little prediction video on their UFC page, and Conor himself posted a comment to that video saying, "Get this crackhead off my company's page."
Yeah.
And it's interesting.
This is the actual beef, the only beef with Steve-O in MMA that I did see the whole thing. I was like, I'm like, wait, who are you talking to? And I'm like, are you talking to Conor McGregor? And I'm like, why would he be telling Conor McGregor to shove it up his ass? And then I go back into this, and I'm like, oh shit, he called you a crackhead.
Right.
Are you like hot sauce buddies with Dustin? Like you were friends with him before this fight.
Yeah, like I've been friendly with Dustin from before that.
Okay.
And dude, what a fucking great guy Dustin Poirier is.
I've never met him, but he comes across like a sweetheart.
Yeah, absolutely love the guy. I absolutely love the guy. And and so I'm very pro Dustin, and I think just like the rest of the world, I'm kind of over Conor's antics. You know,
yep.
It's just not.
I was a huge fan, and he definitely lost me several times because I'm like, man, what I remember, I fell in love with you because you were so much about MMA. Like when I interviewed him and he was on my show back in the day, he knew everybody's weight, everybody's style, like who's potentially coming up. Who's like, you know, who we could beat in other weight classes. He doesn't fucking know about everybody else anymore. He doesn't know, like, who the fuck is that guy? Because he doesn't know, he doesn't give a shit anymore. He's in this other thing, which is, I'm happy for him. And it's also kind of cool. Can't wait to watch the movie. But
what's the movie?
I'm saying when it comes out about him, you know, being a gacked out fucking moron and throwing money and doing bumps out of his anus. I'm sure it's going to be wild. Like he looks like a guy that's just taking in everything bad, you know, like you got to the top and you're taking, you know, all the, you cheat on your wife. I don't know this for sure, but it seems to me like you fuck everybody and you do all the drugs and everybody's a fucking idiot and no one knows anything because you know everything. I can relate to that. I've had a pocket of that. Smaller scale, but I can still relate to it. It was like, nobody knows what they're talking about except me. So I don't even know why anyone's talking to me. And then I'm like, wow, what a fucking asshole. Isn't that crazy how your ego got to the point where you think you fucking know anything?
Right.
And I'm like, it's coming for him. But in the meantime, I was just like, if you want to fight, I'll watch that. But this shit, you're not even that good at it, mate. It's kind of like, it's kind of blown out and lame.
Right.
I'm way more into the guy that wants to fight, the guy that trains all the time. Like Dustin, to be as big as him and as successful and just to be like, hey, how you doing? How you doing? Like I'm sure he does to all tall, small, big, like he doesn't treat anybody different.
You know, like after the Conor fight, you know, I was backstage and saw Dustin. I was like, oh man, dude, like this and that, and I said to Dustin that I'd love to see a new era of UFC superstars that have humility and integrity and, you know, like class, you know, like this whole, like the Conor McGregor era where it's all about the trash talking, you know, like, and all this, like.
Yeah, because it infected everybody else.
Right.
Everybody else tried to do their best impression of Conor McGregor. Now everyone's a fucking idiot and everybody's the best and everybody against them is laughable. It's like, what happened to the, like, mixed martial artists sounded really cool as in it was an art, Bruce Lee, you know, like this, like Anderson Silva shit where I'm like, this is a pure passion.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not about being violent. It's about, like, but people are like, man, Jason, you fight, you must be like a super violent guy. Like, I got a bad childhood, but I've never fought angry.
Sure.
I fight like I'm skating. I'm like, in the moment or whatever.
Right. And what's so great about Dustin Poirier is when I said that, I said, you know, I'd love to see a new era of UFC superstar where the stars are the people who have humility and class and integrity. He said, Man, I would just like that to be the whole world. Everybody in the whole world would be that way. It's like, you know.
Yeah, but it's not. It's weird how he goes. Like
Right.
the cool. Oh, when someone gets given everything, some people just go awesome, and some people go, "It's because I'm the greatest person that ever lived, you fucking
Right.
idiots." And I'm like, was that in there the whole time? Was that just like ready to go? Like you were just waiting for your time to say it?
Dude, I had this. I had the most fascinating fucking conversation with Duncan Trussell, right? And
Who's that?
he's a comedian. He's like a spiritualist, a psychedelics, guy, and
Psychedelics guy.
he's really into the idea of psychedelics. And I told him, I said I have this philosophy about consciousness, right? And maybe I'll lose you, but I'll just tell you very quickly. I said I don't believe that consciousness is generated by the brain, right? I think I view the brain as not a transmitter of consciousness, but rather a receiver, right? Like, so you picture us, what like I view us and our consciousness as like we're basically a radio, like a radio picking up a signal outside of ourselves.
Where's consciousness?
Where the consciousness is the signal. It's fucking, you can't see it, you can't whatever, but at the point of the death of our body, it's like the radio. You can fucking take a sledgehammer, you can smash the fucking radio as much as you want, but you haven't killed the signal that the radio is picking up. The radio is basically, the radio is insignificant. It's the signal that we pick up. And Duncan Trussell's response to this, he was like, yeah, man. And then you got some radios cruising around thinking they're the Beatles.
Wow. Yeah.
They're the Beatles, when they're not the fucking Beatles. They're,
that all makes sense.
It was pretty fucking, it was fun. I really like that guy. That was my favorite. Of all the podcasts I've recorded, my episode with Duncan Trussell is like by far and away the favorite one of my episodes of my podcast I've ever recorded.
Opened your mind up a little bit.
I mean, it was just, I just felt like, here's a guy I'd never met, but I still haven't met him because we were on Zoom.
Oh, wow. It's one of those relationships?
Yeah,
that's cool.
And I just felt that I had this instant connection with this guy.
Do you talk to him after that? Like,
I mean, we exchanged phone numbers, and he's in North Carolina somewhere, and I was in North Carolina, and it turned out he was hours and hours away, but he's just a guy I have a lot of respect for.
I have to talk to you, but I don't have to, but about the BAM thing, because I know you've had him. I know at one point
I did.
I only know the story from secondhand, and I remember like, yeah, man, like if you're all asking him to be sober, that's probably a good idea. I don't feel like that's a hard ask. But how did that all?
It makes a lot of sense. When BAM was on my podcast, it was prior to them terminating his contract.
So
BAM was still.
Are you guys talking?
I shot him a text today just to check in on him. Like, hey man, where you at? Like, how you doing? Where you at?
And he responds to you?
I mean, I don't know. I give him more than like the few hours it's been since then. But I don't know where he is right now. I really don't.
But you guys are okay. Because I thought at one point he kind of personally hated everybody who was still in Jackass.
He I maintained a relationship with him throughout.
Like, the whole time.
Throughout all of the and I was somehow not in his crosshairs.
Weird.
Like
you escaped. Everybody else was in the shit though, right?
I mean, it was like the powers that be of Jackass being Knoxville and Jeff Tremaine and Spike Jones. Those
okay.
I'm not I'm below the line.
Right, you didn't make the law, so you're okay.
Yeah, I'm not. Okay. I'm below the line. It was never my call. If anything, I the entire time, not the entire time, but for a great deal of time after they terminated his movie deal and kicked him out, I was petitioning to get him back in.
Oh, okay. Let me ask you this: were you petitioning to get him back in because it's not going to be Jackass without him? Do you think him being sober while you're filming was a good idea?
I felt that I'm not going to say it's not going to be Jackass without him, but if the philosophy of Bam not being in the movie anymore was that he was on some level a liability. Oh, well, if Bam has like the thing, and then it's gonna, as it, whether he's in the movie or not in the movie, you're never gonna break that. But there's always gonna be that affiliation. If something terrible happens with Bam, that's gonna affect that's gonna affect the band, the franchise, the family, whatever you want to call it. You can't like remove Bam from that. Like it's a family bond, like he's and you can't remove somebody from your family.
Do you think that they made that rule because they wanted him to not be in it?
No, they absolutely wanted.
Right.
Nobody. There was no nefarious.
Right. They knew why even try to make it and know that you don't want him in it? That wouldn't make any sense.
All anybody ever wanted was for Bam to be in it, for Bam to be healthy,
and I know they've all helped you.
Yeah.
At one point, I remember you saying like Johnny Knoxville gave me a look that I'd never seen in my life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it made me go with him.
Knoxville saved my fucking life.
They fucking really committed themselves to saving you.
They saved my fucking life. And with all the shit that Bam was talking about these guys, I'm like, I had to come out and say, Bam, like, you're talking about the same people who saved my life.
Right.
And you're talking about what you're so mad at them for is them trying to do the same thing for you that they did for me, which saved my life.
And you couldn't. It's a weird because I feel like out of all people, you're like a brother to him.
Yeah.
And I told you before the show started, you're the most, so far gone person that I knew that is beyond fucking together and excelling.
Well,
you're the number one. You're the poster child. Anybody that wants to thinks they can't get it back. Look at him, because you are running shit, dude. And at one point, you were on the Howard Stern show. Screaming about. I was like, man, he is fucking gone.
Thank you very much for that. I believe strongly that addiction, / alcoholism, is the only disease you can suffer from where you treat it and become better than you were before. Any other disease.
Yeah. Oh, wow, yeah.
Any other disease, the best you can hope for is to become as healthy as you were before you were stricken.
Right.
Whereas alcoholism and addiction, when you treat it, you become this improved version of yourself that you're better off for having suffered from the disease.
Yeah.
And that's the case with me, absolutely. Because
that's a really good way to look at it.
I never did that. Like I'm functioning at a level now that I simply would not have been capable of before I suffered from alcoholism and treated it.
Right. Yeah.
So but now that's the good news. The bad news is that of all the people who suffer from addiction and alcoholism, I think it's some really dismal fucking statistics, like 5% achieve long-term sobriety.
I remember you did sober living, and I remember thinking you were doing it for a long time, and I was like,
until I had 2 years.
Right. That's when I was like, that's the difference, because I've been there, and I didn't commit. I couldn't do it. 2 years of sober living, there's no way I could do it, which meant I fucking broke several times because I never did it the right way.
Well, the first time I went to rehab was 1995. I was 20 years old, and
way back.
Yeah, Jackass didn't come out until year 2000. And 1995, I was like a homeless kid. I was fucking, I suppose I had a car, but I was living out of the car. And I was just like...
Why live out of a car if your family's... Well, you fuck them. Did you have a falling out with your family?
It wasn't that I was falling out. It's that I wasn't up to anything that they would have, endorsed, I think I had a level of pride with, that if I wasn't going to ask for a handout, when I wasn't doing anything, I wasn't doing anything that my parents would have been on any level fucking stoked about. So I just considered myself on my own.
Okay.
You know, and I was homeless for like 3 years. There was like 3 years of homelessness and couch surfing. And at that I just got a total brain fart for
We're talking about Bam.
yeah, like I don't know. I got it was there was something fucking.
Do you know what he was at?
Oh yeah, I was in rehab. Okay, so
Okay.
I was
First time.
So yeah, I'm a homeless kid. I went to rehab, and while I was in this rehab, I was only 20 years old. I'm not like I'm just like, what am I doing here? The reason I was in rehab was because I had been arrested for drunk driving in that car,
Okay.
and
But you weren't really out of control on drugs and alcohol.
I was showing up in jails and hospitals on a somewhat alarming basis. I just like
For just alcohol, or are you doing other stuff?
I mean, I mostly alcohol.
But what else?
Like I was pretty indiscriminate. I hadn't developed like a cocaine habit at that time yet. It's mostly just alcohol and pills and like just whatever I could get. Whatever.
Wow. At 20, you were like that.
At 20, yeah.
Is this around the time when was the time when you backflipped?
Yeah, I broke my skull. Like
wait, I'm talking about too. You did a backflip at the Tampa.
Oh, that was year 2000.
Okay, wait.
That was 5 years later.
Okay.
But yeah, like it was 1995. I mean, dude, like November 94, I had this fucking accident. I had to have surgery on my leg. As soon as I was able to walk in like January of 95, I got all fucked up and threw myself off a second floor balcony at a keg party and landed on my face. I had a broken cheekbone, 7 broken teeth, 10 stitches in my chin, and a broken wrist. And my mom took pity on me because I had broken my teeth, and she got me a dentist appointment to get my teeth fixed. And I had cast on my arm still. Well, I missed the fucking dentist appointment because I get arrested for drunk driving, and I'm in jail, like with my broken teeth, with the cast on my wrist, and because I had a cast on my wrist, the people in the jail, they said that I had a potential weapon, which would give me the cast was a potential weapon.
They did not cut it off.
They didn't cut it off.
Okay.
No, they didn't cut it off, but they surmised that my cast would give me an unfair advantage. If
What
I
about
had
your
any
face? Did that give you an unfair advantage?
Well, no,
Wasn't half your face broke off as well?
They put me in like the holding with like the longest term inmates in the county jail because I had this fucking potential weapon.
So they put you in the extremely tough people.
He's got to be in with the scarier people because I had a cast on my wrist. So I was like more freaked out than anything. And I called up my mom, collect call from the jail. So mom, like, hey, come bail me out. She says, I'm not bailing you out of shit. You're going straight to rehab.
Oh, okay.
So that was why I was in the rehab. Now, while I was in the rehab, my only reason for being there was because I didn't want to be in jail.
That's a good reason.
It was the condition for my mom to bail me out.
Yeah. And
while I'm in this rehab, one of the counselors said something like, I forget what it was particularly, but maybe I think it was like only 5% of alcoholics and addicts ever achieve long-term sobriety.
Yeah.
And I remember like being like so offended by that. Thinking like, okay, so this fucking asshole just told me that even if hypothetically I was really into the idea of committing myself to a life of recovery, that I would only have a fucking 5% chance. And I just wrote off the idea of it. I just became resigned to this being my path. Like I'm not even going to fucking try because there's no chance. And so for the next 13 years after that, I just lived by that, with that resignation that I was going to drink and use myself to death. But then when Knoxville did the intervention, when I'm like in the psych ward there, like all of a sudden, like those statistics, which had kept me loaded, now all of a sudden those statistics like served to really motivate me.
I get it.
You know, because once I
because
made,
I am one of the five.
Yeah.
I am in the top 5% of making this. Watch me.
and if the day that I decided to willingly go from the psych ward to rehab, and I've been sober ever since that day. If somebody magically appeared and said, "Hey, before you go and do this rehab thing, I just want to remind you, only 5% of alcoholics and addicts really make it with long-term sobriety," I wouldn't have been fazed by that. I'd be like, "Okay, so you're telling me it could be done.
Right.
I've beat bigger odds than that in everything I've ever done in my life."
Right.
You know, like, and more importantly, it's crazy because I went from that psych ward to this hospital in Pasadena for rehab called Las Encinas. And at that time, the director of the chemical dependency unit was our buddy, Dr. Drew Pinsky.
Oh, sweet.
So I go to Dr. Drew's rehab. And I showed up like being, admitted in. I'm talking to Dr. Drew, and I said to him, I said, "Hey," I said, "Drew, I'm well aware that the odds are not in my favor. And like, I don't want to waste my fucking time. Like now I decided to be here and I just don't want to waste my time." So I said to him, "However long you suggest that I stay in this rehab, I want to stay significantly longer to give myself a better chance that this isn't going to be a big fucking waste of my time."
Right.
And he said, "I'd love to hear that." Plus the fucking rehab, I think, I don't know how many, 30 grand a month. Like, I don't know what, it was a lot. And I'm trying to hand him a blank check, to keep me. And he said, "Hey, I don't recommend that you be here longer than 30 days. But if you are so serious about recovery, then I recommend you go into a sober living. Because going back into the same environment that got you where you're at, it's just like."
Nobody's going to understand. No one.
And that was just my
it.
attitude from right when I got there. I said, and so those statistics that had kept me loaded were now keeping me sober because I knew that I had to like make this such a priority, that I had to give myself every advantage, that I had to do everything to protect.
Right. So then you get that going, and then I remember for the longest time, like you I guess you were addicted to porn as well. Or was that just a thing that is triggered? It triggers everything else.
Porn wasn't particularly helpful, but I was like I had issues with compulsive sexual acting out for sure.
So a little bit of an addiction with that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I was just like, how many chicks can I hook up with was always like my,
Right.
my highest goal was to just hook up with lots of chicks.
Right.
And I suppose that's fine, to a certain degree.
I mean, if they all want to, then yeah.
Right. But then like I had this awful fucking habit of like becoming infatuated with the woman and then like pouring on the charm to really rope her in and get her on the hook. And then I would like hook up with her, have sex, and it just like a light switch went off. I would just all of a sudden just completely lose interest in this person and do the whole ghost routine.
Oh.
And
you kept doing that?
Yeah. Oh, dude, I did it so many fucking times. And it's just like, they say that, you should treat others the way you want to be treated yourself.
Yeah.
And in doing that, I was distinctly treating others the way I most fear being treated myself.
Yeah.
Because I'm like such a sensitive little guy. Like,
is this a childhood thing? Like, did your parents show that?
I think a lot of sex shit is childhood trauma.
Because that happened to me too. I feel like there was a big realization where I was like, "Oh my God, you're
a dog,"
and you kind of thought it was cool. Like,
you don't have to be Sigmund Freud to know that I've got real fucking issues with rejection and abandonment. And so here I am routinely fucking roping to like, making it there,
taking the power back.
And so that like, I was treating people the way that I most don't want to be treated and doing it over and over and over.
Because somebody did that to you though, obviously.
And on top of that, like, I was approaching 40 years old. I was on this comedy tour, where I would do meet and greet with the entire audience. And invariably, I would try my best to go through the entire audience to find someone to act out with.
Right.
And as I'm doing that approaching 40, I just felt like, all right, I'm becoming just like a kind of a pathetic dude. You know, like
That's what your assessment was.
For it's just not fucking cool anymore. Like just acting out sexually. Like
and then you completely cut it off.
Well, right. I believed that future happiness was really contingent upon me learning how to be in a healthy relationship. I felt
so
like
at first you did not have a relationship, and did you do therapy for it, or
I ended up going to therapy. I ended up going to a sex addict treatment program.
Okay, for how long?
It was like 2 weeks. That like intensive outpatient program. But,
oh shit!
But that was just an introduction to this like community of sex addicts in recovery.
Okay.
So I got really into that, and
it helped, obviously.
I owe to that the relationship I'm in now.
That's why
I'm 5 years, almost, not quite, but almost 5 years since I've put my dick anywhere it didn't belong. You know.
Okay, I get that. It took me, wait, yeah, okay, I understand.
Yeah, like
so I'm happy because I knew that at one point you were like, I saw one person and it fucking didn't work, and I could tell you were like, that's the one bit that I haven't got sorted out yet.
Right.
And then I just see posts where I'm like, oh, this is he's saying, hey, look at me and my girlfriend,
my fiance,
and well, congratulations.
Thanks.
And I think you made a few comments about, I'm totally gonna boner her tonight.
Right.
I'm like, wow, okay, that's official. That means that he's using it.
For sure. I mean, we joke around.
But a lot of work was put into that.
It's a lot of fucking work, man. There's no doubt. And I think that when I was getting loaded and just fucking constantly just creating fucking wreckage and just wasting time getting loaded, making terrible fucking decisions and just creating problems. Yeah, that got in the way of my productivity. You know, like no doubt. And certainly getting clean and sober was a major move in the right direction. But the amount of fucking time suck that chasing pussy around, just the amount of time that goes out the window, and God, my buddies with their fucking swiping with the Tinder and all that shit, like it's unconscionable how much fucking time is wasted just trying to fucking chase pussy around. Like, and then add on top of that all of the attendant stress and like terror of like fucking like consistently putting yourself at the health risks. You know, like, oh my God, what did I put my dick in? Oh my God, I go to the doctor and get tested. Oh fuck, like, you know, and then on top, then the other layer of like where you're just mistreating people, you know, like with the whole ghost routine. It's just a fucking black cloud, all of it. And like to have gotten into the work of being able to be in a healthy relationship. Now, dude, that just frees up so much time for me to just focus my attention, my energy on what I want to be doing. And on top of that, now I've got this great partner who helps me accomplish what I want to. It's just like, wow, like I'm not wasting time.
But to initially put in that amount of work and be that disciplined, you look like, the outcome, you did it, but holy shit, man. Kudos to you, because that's a long time. And I remember there was
thanks, man. And dude,
a lot of trials and tribulations there.
And it's some tenuous shit, man. It's a constant fucking work. You can't, on any level of recovery, you can never be complacent. You know, it's just like it's a daily reprieve, man. You gotta be so fucking careful and all that.
It get tiring?
I mean, not as tiring as the fucking disaster
That's a good point.
You know,
it's a pretty easy decision when you put it like that.
Yeah, I mean, what's tough is like, you know, everywhere you look, there's some fucking super hot chick, you know, and you feel hard done by because, you know, you're in like your little, like, you know, your little one vagina world, you know. But
what an incredibly depressing way to look at it. but that's an addict's way to look at things.
Right, for sure.
Like that's why my mind could do that.
Right. But the reality is that it's like any kind of addiction, you know, like one's too many, 1,000 is never enough. And like as soon as I step take that one step, then my life becomes a fucking disaster. So, like, just for my life to not be a disaster, God, am I grateful for the wonderful situation that I'm in.
Yeah, super good idea. The whole thing was a really good idea.
Well, thanks, man.
Because you're a likable guy now.
Well, thanks,
Yeah.
dude. I mean, I still struggle with.
I didn't see you before you got sober, but I just heard you on the Stern Show. You were talking shit on me at one point. And I was like, "What the fuck, man?
I forget what.
where'd you get so? You like it wasn't? It didn't.
I can't.
I can't remember how many other people were on that list as I got reeled into it. Like it was like that guy's a fucking poser and fuck Ellis and fuck the government and fuck like
I do.
Everybody was getting.
I do vaguely recall, but and I remember. I think that we sorted that out years ago.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, I wasn't.
And I'm fortunate to not even remember what the notion was.
I don't remember exactly what it was. You were just like, fuck him, he's a piece of shit or something. And it had to do with you were Bam's guy, and Bam was angry at me, so you were just jumping on that. But I remember at the time hearing it, and I don't like people not liking me, especially people I know. And I was like, oh, really? But you sounded so bad that I was like, man, I hope he's okay. Like, I forgot about the insult and more about, like, are you okay? Because Stern Show was like, yeah, let it rip, Steve-O. And you were, but I was like, man, it's not really that healthy what's happening right now.
It got dark, man. It was bad.
With the Tyson stuff, because I know you're like friends with him and you went to rehab with him, right?
I was locked up in a psychiatric ward with him, just randomly. I was in a psych ward and he shows up as a patient in the same psych ward.
So you guys became friends in
there? We were in the psych ward together in 2008. But back in 2005, we did like 5 grams of cocaine together.
Oh, okay. So you knew him before.
We had one epic night of just me and him locked in a bathroom for hours on end, tearing through like an insane amount of cocaine.
Wow. But the good stuff, though.
I mean, I had.
Was it his?
It was mine.
Oh, okay.
And dude, it was so. I mean, I've told the story a million times, but it was just so fucking fascinating how, like, you know, he's like, "You got any coke?" And we get locked up in this bathroom. He asked me for a cigarette and rolls the cigarette back and forth between his fingers so that all the tobacco falls out. And he's just got this this cylinder of paper with the filter on it. But what you're describing would be like you mix the tobacco with the cocaine. Tyson put nothing but powder cocaine into the cylinder of paper. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, there's no way that's going to fucking work. I can't.
Right.
Wait, did he burn it or use it as a tube to like snort?
He just, it was a cylinder of cigarette paper and nothing but, and he put nothing but powder cocaine into it, and he kept loading it up, and then I think he pulled the little filter out of it from the cotton piece of the filter, and he just somehow fucking made it work. I was so
smoked it.
He smoked it. Yeah, it was the most fascinating fucking thing I ever saw, and he just did it again and again and again, and that's how we got through 5 grams of cocaine in this one session.
Smoking it. All right.
It was just this crazy fucking like drug addict science fair project going on.
It's crazy the techniques that you learn when you do stuff like that.
I know, dude. And it was really, really fucking fascinating. And you know, I think that we just got along great, but then all the coke was gone, and then it was like, okay, man.
Off to the next one.
Yeah, it was just clearly time for me to go. But I remember like the parting words that night after just hours of doing cocaine with Mike Tyson. He says, "Man, Steve-O, everybody got you wrong. You know, you're a really smart guy."
I can see him saying that because I feel like
I think he's a fucking really smart guy too.
So are you?
Well, yeah, he figured out that cocaine doobie thing.
Yeah.
Someone taught me the Cocoa Puff thing, and I started doing that when I lived in Carlsbad. And I remember
Was that like in the Tuss days?
Yeah, I think this might have been before.
The XYZ fucking.
Hey, you know what? It might have been around that time. I was on Ennis, so it was Matt Hensley's clothing line.
Oh, okay.
So it might have been, I can't remember
You weren't doing that with Matt Hensley.
No, definitely not. But Matt was super cool with me being me. which was because I would go over to the warehouse and be like, because they had a mini ramp. And I'm like, what are you guys up to? And I remember one time I was like, cool if I smoke some weed in the back? And Matt's like, yeah, no problem. And I had like a big spliff that I smoked in the warehouse. And he was like, everyone's like, dude, you're smoking out the clothes. And I was like, Matt said I could smoke it. And then Matt's like, maybe go out the back with that. I was like, yeah, no worries. You just have to ask, but really blindly like rude with that shit. But I remember smoking a bunch of that and I ran out of cigarettes. So I just started smoking coke out of the bong.
But you don't want to bubble the coke through the water, I don't think. I think you compromise your...
Compromise your what?
I think you compromise your potency of your hit.
Yeah, it's probably not the most efficient way to use your cocaine.
It was the first time I ever had heart palpitations from doing cocaine. I was like,
okay.
oh, I'm in trouble right now. I had to calm down and go to Ennis and smoke a bunch of doobies and Skatey's mini ramp. And then I was fine.
Are you in touch with Hensley now?
Nah, I haven't talked to him for the longest time.
What a legend.
Have you talked to him?
No, but...
I see him. Like, I follow him on Instagram, so I see that he's out there still fucking whatever that thing's called.
Yeah, my buddy Tommy Caudill, I was asking him about Hensley.
That's right. I know Tommy.
Yeah, Tommy's great.
Tommy had to call me and kick me off XYZ while Tuss was standing there laughing.
Ah, damn.
Yeah, we're going to fucking kick you off. It's like, ha, ha, ha. And I'm like, oh, my God.
That's too
Getting
bad.
gay. I got gay bashed off the fucking team.
Was there much to lose in that series? Like, I can't imagine.
I mean, to me, it was more about...
It's a prestige thing.
I was in the cool... it's tough to be cool and a vert guy. And we were a cool group of vert guys. People were like, these dudes are the shit. And all of a sudden, I was a homo. So that was the end of that. Tuss got real mad at... I can't remember exactly what it was, but it's over now. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, but what's the last you've heard of Tuss?
He, unfortunately, has my phone number. I probably shouldn't say this. I've had a text message about, I don't know. I can't remember what it was, but he's reached out to me a couple of times trying to be friendly. I don't have any ill will towards him. I'm just...
I think that
certain people, best of luck to you. You know, it's anxious. You're so negative, and I don't care if you've changed your life. You make me nervous. I just don't want to know you. I think it'd be best.
The documentary, All This Mayhem about the Pappas brothers.
That's right. I was in that.
Yeah.
I didn't get asked about it. They just put me in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Me either. I was delighted to find myself.
Man, that was kind of late because he started talking shit on Tony about stuff that wasn't true. And I'm like, then the only reason I know that is because people kept asking me.
Right. I mean, dude, the Tony bashing was just over the top. And it was this like revisionist history that just like was, I mean, it's just, it was an entertaining documentary, no doubt.
Yeah. He's a fucking amazing skateboarder, man.
Yeah.
One of the best to ever do it.
He definitely was.
But boy, did he believe that too at one point, you know?
Right.
He's a little bit of a conner, you know? Just
but you could tell that to whatever extent he was acknowledging his own addiction in that documentary.
Oh yeah?
Like, well, yeah. I mean, you could like I think he was like the end of it, you found him like in like was he the one or was it Ben with the cocaine going through the airport? Because that was part of the
both did it. Ben got caught one time and then he got stuck in Australia and that's how he ended up going even further down.
Right, but Tuss
had the skateboards with the cocaine. Yeah. That's right. And they were like really, he said they were like this thick. He like painted it to look like a skateboard and he realized in customs that there was no way they were going to believe him. So he just tried to bolt. out the front of customs, and they're like, "Why is this guy sprinting?"
There are some parallels between the Hosoi story and the Tuss story in that in that respect. With the hit pack full of meth.
You get to man, I swear, it's our little world, man. Like we don't know about the rest of the world. Like if you're the king of our world, you're the king of the world,
right?
And Christian at one point could not do anything wrong, no matter what he did,
right?
And same with Tuss. Like at one point, I was like. I can honestly say what you're doing to me is fucking unfair and unjustified. I'd tell you guys if there was some dark story where I accidentally, I did something. I did not. He just fucking flipped on me and tried to make everybody in the community, my little world, hate me. To the point where I went home. I retired from skateboarding because I'm like, I'm not going to a contest where half the fucking ramp thinks I'm gay and hates me. Or I just don't want to fight or be in a fight.
That happened during the Armageddon era.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I seem to recall being at the Armageddon warehouse with that big gigantic ramp that just bankrupted all of these companies. Is there facts to that? That ramp cost them too much? I mean, dude, fuck yeah. Dude.
Probably Danny, right? Because he just.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I think that ramp that warehouse bankrupted the whole deal, dude.
Well, then because that warehouse came back, and then it was the DC ramp, and then I believe Ken was paying for it at that point.
Yeah, perhaps.
I hope so.
Perhaps. But I seem to recall you skating, and you were trying gay twists, for going back up in a frontside caballerial type deal.
Oh yeah, frontside cabs.
Yeah, knowing you, of course you're doing gay twists.
Yeah. Saw that set up for. Yeah. They don't call it that anymore.
Oh yeah,
you can't call it that. And it's same with what is it? Les Twist? They're not Les Twist.
Oh yeah.
And what was the other one? Tony broke it down because the mute air is no longer a mute air; it's a Weldon because the guy that invented it was mute, and everybody in the game just called it. No, he's not mute. Sorry, he's deaf, and they called him a mute, and he was not. And then he found out years later that it was named after him, but he didn't make it up.
So you grab mute for Japan Air.
Yep. And it's a Weldon. That's what Tony calls it now. And I believe in Tony Hawk's Pro Skateboarder, it is now a Weldon.
Wow.
So he's trying
mute because the guy who invented the mute grab
was a deaf guy.
And the
skateboarders just thought he was a mute, so they called it a mute air.
Wow. I'm surprised there's not more of examples of that type of thing.
Well, I think I can't believe he didn't know for that long that he had invented the mute air. Sorry, Weldon. But
so that's the guy, the deaf guy's name's Weldon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what,
did he have any say in?
Tony asked him.
Oh, okay.
Would you like it to be the Weldon or something else?
That's
and he's
good.
like,
See, Tony, man.
Right? I know, dude. I know. He does it to skateboarding is saved by this man so many times.
Tony Hawk, man. Wait a minute. I had some crazy resentment fucking. I was recording a podcast and I told some fucking super just toxic, just venomous story, and then it's besides the point. But I remember having just recorded, I was like, I'm gonna put it out, I'm gonna put it in there. We're not editing it out. Fuck that guy, and then fucking and clearly I was conflicted about the whole situation, and where I resolved my own little inner dialogue, my little inner debate, my struggle. I had the thought, fucking Tony Hawk would never fucking do that.
Man,
Tony Hawk would
what would Tony Hawk do is a good way to look at stuff.
It really is, dude.
If I made that call before every decision, it would have been a better decision.
Yeah, Tony Hawk would not put some fucking negative fucking shit talking. Yeah, right?
I know. What's the point? And I'd be like, it's smart guys. That is a good point. There is no point to that.
You got to tell Tony that.
That we all base our decisions on what would Tony do.
That's a really good way to back out of a lot of fucking problematic
It'd be I would like to make that a promo for make a commercial. The what would Tony Hawk do?
Yeah, would Tony Hawk do that?
Think to yourself before you do that.
It's funny too, because anytime you see somebody trending on social media that you admire, and you're like, oh fuck, this is either really good or really bad. Tony trends on Twitter every other day, and you never break a sweat. It's like, Tony was spotted eating a cheeseburger, and that is why he's trending.
He trended the other day without him doing anything.
Yeah.
People just brought up that he was doing that like people meet him and say you look like Tony Hawk thing,
All right.
and that
I mean,
just
dude,
retrended again.
it's pretty incredible. Like you see, like on Twitter, and he explains all of these little scenarios that he finds himself in, like being recognized. He's like this person, and he writes it like a script, attributing lines to whoever. And I look at some of those, and I think, man, like anybody else tried, like sort of publishing some account of like being recognized as a celebrity. Like it would just be like no. Right. but when Tony does it, it's perfectly fucking rad.
Yeah, because there's a different dynamic. Everyone who recognizes him is an immediate child again, if not a child right there. Like you turn into a fucking, from wherever you first heard of him, that's how old you become when you see him at the airport.
Yeah.
You go, man, you look like Tony Hawk. And
Right.
they know.
And I just think that he's just got this great, like, self-deprecating disposition. He just doesn't take himself so seriously.
Right? He's just so normal.
He's able to relate these things where he's this fucking icon in a way that's like got humility. And it's like the least humble thing to be doing, to be relating these encounters. It's fucking fascinating to me.
Yeah, I like just being there for them now. Like when someone goes, hey man, you know who you look like? I go, ooh, good, go. Go ahead, do your exchange. I can't wait to watch it. Like I just love watching him go, yeah, I've heard that. And then they go, and I'm like, it is.
Yeah, dude. Well, fucking A, man. I love it, dude. So you got, this is the Jason Ellis show.
Yeah.
And you've got Hawk versus Worlds. Just the two podcasts?
Yep. And then we have a Patreon.
Okay.
Because the Jason Ellis show fans are so used to a paid subscription that when we moved to podcasting, someone was like, dude, do a Patreon. And that held us over. We're living off Patreon.
Okay, good.
Like
4 extra hours a week. In addition to the free one we do
will
here.
we break off any of this to make it exclusive for Patreon?
No. Why? Do you think we should?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'll fucking...
wait a minute. What would Tony Hawk do? I think we're going to take a break, and if you want to catch the rest, we'll be on Patreon.
I'll fucking take a piss so we can shoot the
really?
shit a little more
Oh
for the
my God,
Patreon
that's
people.
such a heavy hitter. Okay, I will do that.
All right, cool.
All right,
man.
thanks everybody for listening to the show. Remember, if you want to catch more of this, go to patreon.com/AllisMate. Don't die. Hi, it's Steve-O.
If you want more Jason Ellis show, sign up for their Patreon at patreon.com/EllisMate for a 2-hour show every Tuesday and Wednesday. To watch full episodes of The Jason Ellis Show, subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/The Jason Ellis Show. And don't forget to follow the crew on Instagram at Wolfmate, at Tullywood, at Kevin Kraft, at Underwearwolf, and at The Jason Ellis Show.